Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and on screen we have a puzzle created by one of the world's best constructors as a tribute to another of the world's best constructors. So this is Prasanna Seshadri's tribute to Phistomefel. We did a puzzle by Phistomefel a couple of weeks ago that combined snake egg logic with a Sudoku, and Prasanna has sort of taken that idea and turned it up to 10 because he's put a snake egg puzzle in here on top of an irregular Sudoku. So irregular Sudoku, obviously all of these funny shaped regions need to contain the digits from 1 to 9. So this is going to be a serious challenge, not least because I am pretty dreadful in my own opinion at irregular Sudoku. So you're going to get to laugh at me here. Why is my BattleNet things turning on? Anyway, let's get rid of that. What do I need to tell you? I have seen that Phistomefel has uploaded a new puzzle on Logic Masters Germany. Some of you have been emailing to ask me why we haven't covered it on the channel yet. Well, it's only been a day, yeah, I'm a creature of great self-restraint, so and I have this puzzle to do, so I'm looking forward to this one. I hope you guys are going to give it a try too. The testing reports are stellar. Now let me read you the rules. What do we need to do? Normal Sudoku rules apply, except that the regions are irregular. Additionally, a snake has to be drawn into the grid. The head and tail of the snake are in the two cells with the grey circles. The snake may not touch itself orthogonally, but it can touch itself diagonally. Now before I go on, let's just check everyone understands what that means. So that means if I start to draw a snake, for example, like this, like this, like this, and I get to this square, the snake at this point could not come into this square here, because if it did, it would be sharing a long edge with this cell, and that would therefore breach this rule about not touching itself orthogonally. Now, if on the other hand it turns downwards, that's completely fine, because although the snake is touching itself at a point here, it's touching itself diagonally, it doesn't share a long edge. Okay, so this is absolutely fine. Now let's read the rest of the rules. The rest of the cells without the snake form exactly 8 areas, one of each size from 1 to 8. Such an area of size n contains each digit from 1 to n exactly once. So what is this saying? Well, it's saying that as we draw the snake, I don't know, let's draw a snake. I'm not probably obeying my rules about, in fact I'm not obeying my rules about orthogonal touching here, but I just want to sort of demonstrate what's going on. So you can see I've drawn a snake in the grid. It doesn't obey any of the rules, but the areas that do not have snake in them are of different sizes. We've got a 3-cell white region here, a 1-cell white region here, a 6-cell white region here. Now what would have to happen in the correct solution is this 6-cell region would have to contain the digits from 1 to 6. This 3-cell region would have to contain the digits 1 to 3. And we need to make sure there are exactly 8 of these regions, and therefore they contain, one of them contains a 1, the next one contains a 1 and a 2, the next one contains a 1, 2, 3, all the way up to the 8-size region, which contains all the digits from 1 to 8 inclusive. And that's how we have to solve the puzzle. So do have a go. The way to have a go, if you're new to Cracking the Cryptic, is you click on the link under the video. That takes you to a page that looks remarkably like this one, where you can play along on whichever device takes your fancy. And with that, let's get cracking. Now, we can start this puzzle actually immediately by considering this cell. And I remember this from Phistomefel's puzzle. If we think about it, the cells that that are not snake are of the regions that are not snake have a maximum size of 8. So that region of size 8 would contain all of the digits from 1 to 8. It would not contain a 9. Therefore, all 9s in this puzzle are on the snake. So this has to be on the snake, so we can turn it grey. And now we can think about this cell. This cell is the head or the tail of the snake. So if any of these cells were snake cells, the snake would be passing through the head or the tail, which is clearly sort of making it not the head or the tail anymore. So those 3 squares are definitely not snake. And now we know that there's a head and a tail of the snake. I can't tell the difference. Maybe you guys can tell me which is the head and which is the tail. But I can't introduce more heads and tails. So this cell, if this was snake, that would be creating another head or tail of the snake. That's not allowed. This cell would be creating another head or tail of the snake. Not allowed. These two cells now would be creating more heads and tails of the snake. Not allowed. And all of a sudden we've got quite a large green area here. This is already of size 7. Now we can do our first bit of cool logic. Look. This cell, can this be snake? And the answer is no. Because if we keep the snake going vertically here, now in order not to have the snake touch itself orthogonally, these two squares have to be green. And all of a sudden I've now created a 9-cell green region, which breaches the rules of the puzzle. So this cell has to be green. And the snake has to therefore turn. Well, it can't turn right. If it turns right, how do we stop these two cells being green? And the answer is we can't. This cell is green because it's touching the snake and we can't have the snake branching. And this cell would make another head or tail of the snake, which is impossible. So that would also turn green. And again, we've got a 9-cell green region. Not allowed. So the snake actually definitely turns left. Oh, but more important than that, this now is of size 8. 4, 5. Yes, this green region is of size 8, which means it's reached its maximum size. And that means every cell orthogonally connected with the green region must be snake. And that's going to give us loads of snake pieces. That's got to turn. The snake can't touch itself orthogonally, so that's green. These are all snake. This is snake. That's touching the green region orthogonally. This is not the head or the tail, so it must continue. This, therefore, is green. Now, this 7 is sort of in a corner that's defined by these two green cells, look. We know it's not the head or the tail. So as the snake comes into this cell, it must both come in and exit. So those two both have to be snake. So these are all snake. This is snake, or the snake's touching itself orthogonally in these two squares, so that's green. This green cell is got a 5 in it. Therefore, it's at least of size 5. So this square must be green. And so far, we're doing quite okay. Oh, I meant to make that grey. This is grey because the snake's got to continue. Now let's think about this 8. What is the parity of this cell? Now the key is to realise that this green region is of size 8, so it contains the only 8 in the grid that is green, because there is only one size 8 region that is not on the snake. Everything else has to be on the snake, so that's grey. Now we can use the 9s again. Where does the 9 go in column 1 of the grid? This 9, because it's part of this strange region here, sees all of those cells. We know the 9, wherever it lives in column 1, has to be on the snake, so it can't be in this cell, so it must be in one of those two positions. Well, if it's here, that doesn't work, because if this is snake, it's not the head or tail of the snake, so the snake has to enter and exit this corner. It would have to take both those cells, and now the snake has touched itself orthogonally. Naughty snake. Not allowed to do that. So this cell cannot possibly be the 9. This is the 9 and is snake. This cell can't be snake, because if the snake turns there, it's touching itself again. That's green. Snake's turning down the grid. This needs to be green to stop orthogonal connection, and we get another grey cell. All of these cells have to be bounded by green to stop the snake touching itself. I realise there are ample opportunities for innuendo during this commentary. For that, I apologise, but only with a smile on my face. Hang on. There's got to be a 9 in column 2. It's got to be on the snake. Well, where can it go? It can't go here. That's in the same row as a 9. It can only go there. So that is 9. It's on the snake. That gives us a flurry of extra snake sections. You see, this could actually turn in there and then come out. It doesn't have to continue straight up the grid. Actually, no, it can't continue straight up the grid because that would create an enormous green region there. Yeah, okay, so this is nice. Can the snake even get to this cell? If the snake comes to this cell, in order to stop this becoming a 9-cell green region, the snake's going to have to take some of the white cells. It's going to have to take some of these white cells away. But the thing is, if the snake turns in there, it can't get out without touching itself orthogonally. So actually, the snake can't even take that cell. It must come there. It's got to therefore come up there. It's got to come out again. Now, this is a green region of size 1. Oh, whoa, what happened there with the cursor? Was that me? That's of size 1, so that needs to have a 1 in it. This can't be another green region of size 1, so this needs to take another cell. Therefore, the snake ends here and here have to both extend 1 further. This green region is of size 5 at least, so that must be green. The snake has to come out. Column 4 needs to have a 9 in it on the snake, so one of those 2 cells must be a 9. Okay, sorry, I'm struggling a bit to see what I meant to do here. Let me adjust my glasses, maybe that will help. So this region is of size 5 at least, so it must take another cell. If it turns up, look, it forces the snake to close. Now, why is that interesting? Well, it's because this all of a sudden doesn't become a size 5 region. It's got to take those 2 cells as well to stop the snake touching itself orthogonally. Now, this creates a 7-cell green region, which is the maximum size left because the 8-cell region is down there. So all of those cells would then have to be snake, which means the snake would have to do something like that. It's another Overwatch message. I don't know. That doesn't look impossible. So if it doesn't take this one, it has to take this one. That's also interesting. Look, that's interesting, but for a different reason. That's it. If this cell is green instead, now we've got an interesting feature in the bottom right-hand side because we have 2 ends of a snake. We've got one here and one here. Now, there is no way to get these ends out of this region because this 2-cell alley here would automatically cause the snakes to touch if these ends both tried to come up through that gap. So they couldn't come up through the gap. No snake piece can ever come into these cells. So these turn green again. So this is always the 7-cell region. It's the 7. Whether it comes vertical or horizontal, it's always the 7-cell region. So it's always bounded. So this would force that. Now this doesn't work, therefore, because if we are in this iteration where this is the 7-cell region coming horizontally, we've now got to orthogonally make sure every cell connected to this 7-cell region is snake to stop it becoming an 8-cell region. So it has to do this, and it has to do that. So let's just label that. That's probably going to be easiest to see. Now, what size regions have we now got? Well, we've got an 8-cell region, a 7-cell region, a 6-cell region, and a 5-cell region. So every other green region in the grid needs to be less than 5 in size. But these two squares are orthogonally connected to the snake, so they have to turn green. And that's another 5-cell region at least, which breaks the puzzle. So there we go. We actually can deduce that this does not come, it doesn't come sideways, it goes up. Once it goes up, it connects the snake. Once the snake gets connected, that turns green. This is a 7-cell region, must be orthogonally bounded by snake. The snake comes to the top, it has to turn around and not hit itself, and that's got to turn green. All this has got to turn green. 2 4-cell green regions, so if we connect them with another green here, that becomes a 9-cell green region. That's not allowed, so it's got to do that. That's got to extend. It can't be a 1-cell green region, the 1-cell green region. Oh, look, we've actually got a 2-cell green region up there. Oh, we can fill this in. This is a 2-cell green region, so it's got to contain the digits 1 and 2, but this 1 is in the same shape as that one, so that's a 2, that's a 1. So we've got the 1, 2. We've not got the 3 yet. We've got the 4. We've got the 5. We've not got the 6. When we've got the 7, we've got the 8. Right, so we're looking for the 3 and the 6-cell region. That can't be snake, so that's got to be green. And this green region can't become a 6-cell region now because it would connect to its friend over here. So this is the 3-cell region, which means it's bounded. And there we go. We have placed the snake. Now this is very interesting, isn't it? Because at this stage in the puzzle, we've got effectively, we've got an irregular Sudoku, but overlaid on top of it, we've got another irregular Sudoku formed by the pieces of the grid that are not snake. So we've sort of, I know I should feel happy that I've got all this extra information, but I actually feel incredibly daunted because it's like 2 irregular Sudokus, and I'm already not good at irregular Sudoku, so this is going to be a challenge for me, I think. Okay, what's the best trick I've got for irregular Sudoku? Well, what I try and do often is to divide the grid along imaginary lines. So, for example, let me find a good example. Yes. Here, let's divide column 8 from column 9 with an imaginary line that comes down the grid. Now you can see, we know column 9 is going to contain all of the digits from 1 to 9 somewhere. There are 6 of them. We know this box contains the whole set, and we know this column contains the whole set. So hopefully it's pretty obvious that these 3 cells and these 3 cells must contain the same digits. Well, these 3 cells can't contain a 4, so those 3 squares can't contain a 4 either, and the 4 gets placed at the top. Now we should be able to do that in other places if we are diligent. Let me just see if I can spot somewhere useful. Yeah, so there's things like, if we look across the grid here, it's not that helpful, but these 2 dominoes contain the same digits, because if we draw the imaginary line along here, we know everything below this line, we know there's got to be 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9. Well, here's 1 complete set. Here's 7 cells, so there's 2 cells missing. Well, it's those 2. So those 2 and those 2 must contain the same cells, but or same digits, but actually, given that we know the contents of neither of these dominoes, it's not that helpful. Oh, I know what we can do. Look, 9s. There's got to be... Yeah, look at this shape. This shape has to contain a 9, and we know the 9s are all on the snake. So where does this cell's 9, this shape's 9, go? Well, it can't be in those cells. It must be here. That's not 9 now, so this is a 9. So we've got... So there's got to be a 9 in one of those two cells, because there can't be 9s in those cells because there's already 9s in those boxes. Oh, look. This 9 and this 9 see those 3 squares. So the 9 in this... Oh, yeah, and that 9 sees that one. So where does the 9 go in this region? It must be in that square. That's the only valid spot. And now where does the 9 go in this region? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got to go here. So let's carry on with this logic. There must... Yeah, there must be a 9 in this column, and it can't be here, so it must be there. So that means this is a 9 from the earlier logic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we've got all the 9s. Well, can we do the same with 8s, therefore? Because we know that down here, there's an 8 in this region. So every region that doesn't overlap with this green region here must contain an 8 that's on the snake. So this region has got to contain an 8, and the 8 must be on the snake, and the 8 there means the 8's in one of those two cells. That's not amazing, is it? But maybe... It's not amazing, but it does give us a digit. We can place this digit, I think. And we can do this again using the geometry of the grid. If we draw an imaginary line across here, you can see that these 6 cells, to create 9, the set of 9, need to include this, this, and this. But in row 1 of the grid, those 6 cells also need to take those 3 cells to create the set of digits from 1 to 9. So these 3 and those 3 must be the same, but there's an 8 in one of these. In fact, there must be a... Oh, we can do... It's like reciprocal. We've got to give an 8 to this domino here, and there's an 8 there, so the 8 goes there. And we've got to give a 2 to this triple, and there's 2s here and here and here, so the 2 must go there. So that actually gets the 2 and the 8. And these 2 squares have got to contain the same digit, so I'm going to colour those in. Now, so there must be an 8 in one of those 2 cells now. Sorry. Let me just stare at this for a minute. It's a bit... now look, there's a 2 here. We know there's a 2 in this 6 region, so the 2 must live in that side of it. And we know there's got to be a 2 in this region. So now that 2 is not in those cells. Oh, good grief. This is very complicated. Oh, no, here's something easier. Yeah, here's something easier. Where does 1 go in this shape? Well, this 1 here means it's not in those cells, so it must be in one of those 2 positions, which means it's not in there, which means it must be a 1 there. Okay, so if we look at this column, we need 1, 6, and 7 to complete it. So that's 1, 6, 7. That can't be a 1. Ah, but that's quite nice. That's quite nice, look, because if we look down, if we draw the imaginary line between column 1 and column 2, these 3 cells have got to be the same digits as those 3 cells. It's the same logic we've been talking about. Well, we've got a 1 and a 9, we can already see that, but the other digit's going to be a 6 or a 7, so this square must be a 6 or a 7 as well. And why is that nice? Well, oh, this is lovely. It's nice for 2 reasons. First, it gives me a nice 6-7 pair in this box. That's always welcome. But look now at this. This green region now contains the digits 1, 6 and 7. So this is a 1, 6, 7 triple as regards the green region. Therefore, this is a 1. That is mind-blowing. That's not 1 over there now. Oh, now look. Let's have a look along here. Let's divide row 8 from row 9. If we imagine the line coming along here, these 3 cells and these 3 cells have got to contain the same digits. Well, this cell can't be a 6 or a 7, so this is a 6-7 pair. That's annoying. Well, it's annoying because we can't disambiguate it. Oh, we can. That can't be a 7 because it's part of the 6 region. That's a 6. So that's a 7. This region needs to contain a 5, look, and those can't be a 5 because they're in the same box as a 5, so there's a 5 in one of those squares. But here's some more logic. These 3 cells and these 3 cells are the same digits, so if that's a 2 or a 3, that's a 2 or a 3. And there's a 2 up there, so that's a 3 actually. So this is a 3. Now, is that useful? Oh, look, this shape's already got lots of digits in it. Those 2 have got to be 6 and 7. So we're still looking for 4, 5 and 8. That can only be 4 or an 8 because there's a 5 in one of those cells. This can be 4, 5 or 8, I think. This one, that one can be 4 or 5. Goodness me. Sorry about this. I now need to stare again to try and work out what's going on. Why can't I see how to do this? I'm always conscious with these puzzles that I almost get information overload in my brain. I'm sort of trying to think of too many things at once. It's never a good idea. So, what is it that I'm meant to be spotting here? I don't know. I'm not, whatever it is, I'm not spotting it, which is very frustrating. We know that this region here has to contain all the digits from 1 to 7. So where does the 1 go? The 1 can't go here, can't go here and here. The 1 must be in one of those cells. Oh, got something. Now, let's draw... Yeah, it's our dominoes again. This imaginary line across here, these and these have to contain the same digits. Now, I've now got a 1 in here, so there's a 1 in there. That creates a 1, 2, 5 triple, but more importantly, it gets rid of the ones there. It gives me a 1 here. 1, 2, 5 here. These have got to be 3 and 4 to make sure these contain the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That's not a 1. Oh, so this is the 1. And this becomes a 2, 5 pair. Two. Where does 2 go in this region? This 2 sees all of those squares, so it can only go here. Where does 2 go in this region now? It can only go here. That resolves the 2-5 pair over there. This must be a 4 or an 8. Oh, now the 7-cell region, we've got a 1, 2 and a 5 in it, so those must be 3, 4, 6 and 7. 4 means those are not 4. This is the 4. That gives us a 5 here. Three. Oh, look in this column. That's got to be an 8 to complete the column, and that gives us the head or the tail of the snake as an 8. 1 here means that's a 2, that's a 1. Is that useful? Surely it is. I don't know quite how, but that's got to be a 3 by Sudoku. Don't believe it. There's no 1, 2 disambiguation available there. Oh, there must be. This box hasn't got a 1 in it yet. Where does that go? Have I broken it? No, I haven't. That can be a 1, I think, and must be a 1. Phew, that gives me a 1 and a 2. Now, so that's not a 2, that's not a 2, that's not a 2. That's nice, because that means that's a 2. That's not a oh, it's not a 3. That's not a 5. That's, don't know. 3, 6. That's got to be a 5 because that's the digit missing from this funny shape. So this column now is quite restricted. Look, it needs to have a 7. Oh, it needs to have a 7 and an 8. So that's got to be an 8. That's got to be a 7, I think. That's got to be a 6. That's still working. I'm terrified with irregular Sudokus because I so often seem to misscan them. 7, 6, 7. That's got to be a 5. These 2 squares need to be 2. Oh, a 2. I must be able to do that. I can. That's got. Oh no, please. 4. Yeah, 4's okay. 4 is really nice. It fixes the 4 and the 8. That square's got to be a 5 to complete this funny region. This 4 means that one is an 8. So this region here still needs 3, 4 and 6, I think. I'm probably misscanning that, but I think it's 3, 4 and 6. That one could be anything. That one could be anything. That one can't be a 6. Oh, that one can't be a 4. How can I not see that? This has got to be a 3 or a 6 as well. I still haven't got these 2 purple squares to be equal to one another. Oh, 3, 6, 7 triple along there. That's quite surprising. So I need 4 and 5 to complete that row. Yeah, that looks like it's still correct, so I'll put that in. So, have I done... I think I've done most of what I can do. Look, 3, 4 pair there, so that should be an 8. These squares have got to be 3, 6 and 7, I think. So let's put that in and see how that compares. So that's got to be, that can't be a 3, so that's a 6 or a 7, so that can't be a 3 either. Oh, so that creates a 6, 7 pair, look, because if we look at this row, we need to place 3, 6 and 7. Well, this 3 sort of caters for 2 of the options, because it deals with this square and this square. It forces the 3 to be there. That gives us the 6 and the 7. The 7 gives us that 6 and 7. This has got to be a 4 or a 5. Please don't get it wrong. And this has got to be a 3 and a 6, and well, I can't resolve it, but it still looks like it's possibly the correct digit. So I must be able to do the 8. Yeah, why on earth have I not done that 8 yet? It's just me not looking at it. So this has got to be 4 or 6. And it can't be this is 6-7 pair, so that's got to be 4. That's got to be 5. 4, 5, 3, 6, 7, 3, 7, 6, 4, 3, 6, 3, 5, 4, 3, 6, 4. Check. Yeah! Wow, what a beautiful puzzle. What a beautiful puzzle. And a bit, you know, I feel like I need a cold shower now. All that touching of orthogonal snakes. And yeah, we'll see you again later on for another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.